Hey everyone, this is Andy at thedustbowlaudio.com, and in this video I'm just going to take a quick look at what we mean when we talk about stereo. It's one of those expressions, we use it a lot, and it's got a couple of different meanings depending on context. The most common meaning is it refers to a system where you've got a couple of tracks of audio playing back through a pair of speakers or headphones or earbuds, and you've got sound sources which are panned around the stereo image in there so that you get a sense of space between the instruments or between the parts of sound in a mix. There's also real stereo, which is where you make a recording in a room with a stereo array of microphones and you pick up the interaction of the source with the room. So if you have a singer in the middle of a room and two microphones, the microphones both pick up the direct sound from the singer, but you also get sound which bounces off the ceilings and the floor and that wall and that wall. The microphone here picks up that wall's reflections before that one and vice versa. When you play those two tracks back through a stereo system, you get a sense of the room created by the phasing and timing differences between the two tracks. And that can be very, very powerful. Recording in stereo is great when you've got sources which are sort of fairly simple and that work together. So a vocalist with a piano accompaniment can sound beautiful recorded in true stereo. A cappella groups, orchestras, quartets, bands, if you've got a jazz band or a folk group that kind of self-regulates and balances its own sound out, it can sound very, very powerful to have a simple stereo recording of that. But if you then start trying to make a complex or a busy mix out of the recordings, if you want to add lots of extra things into it, what you find is that either the subtle stereo information, that phase and timing information that tells you about where it's recorded, either gets stamped on by other instruments that you put over it, or else it ends up being a confusing, smeary mess. So if you record a drum kit, for instance, in a glorious, big, high-voltage room, and then you record guitars in a small boxy room, you've got two completely different sorts of ambience, and when you put them together, it confuses the listener. When you get that kind of case crop up, what you can do is you can slam those stereo recordings down to mono and just place them in a mix. You always have to worry with stereo recordings about phase coherence. Sometimes if you collapse stereo down to mono, you just get a horrible, hollow, odd sounding mono source out of it. There are times when the answer is, if you want to record a thing, put a microphone on it, keep it real simple. You might want to record an electric guitar. You put a microphone on a guitar cab and you've got it. You can put it wherever you want. You could put two microphones on a guitar cab and close mic, two speakers in the same cabinet, put one over this side, one over this side of your mix. There's no information, there's no spatial information between the two microphones. You can EQ and compress this one, change the level on this one. No relationship between the two of them. Do what you like with it. On the other hand, if you pull back a few feet, put a pair of stereo microphones which are picking up all the room information, you start finding that if you adjust this track and do something different with this track, that things can get a bit odd because you've got parts of the information regarding that track over there and vice versa. So you've got to be a little bit careful. The time when this really matters, I mean, most of the time we just don't care. You're listening back on music, you actually don't care most of the time if it was recorded as mono and then maybe it's got a stereo reverb laid on top of it or added to it, which gives a sense of space back to close mic sources, or if you're actually listening to something that was recorded as true stereo, you mostly just don't care about that. But when it makes a difference is when you're the person doing the recording, and you kind of got to figure out at times, I'm going for a natural recording, I want minimal processing, I want it to sound just like it does when I'm standing here in the room. That's a great opportunity for stereo recording. If you're looking at something that's going to be created and mixed in the mixing process in the studio, it's something that's going to have overdubs and complexity added into it, then it's probably A, not worth the effort of stereo recording, and B, probably quite dangerous to do stereo recording because of the phase differences that can really mess up your sounds when you collapse them down to mono. The other thing to bear in mind is that if you're doing something, say, with lush strings, the reverberation of a good sounding room can really gel the sections together. If you're recording death metal, all you're going to end up with is smeary, phasey timing on those blast beaty drums, those heavy chugging riffs, because everything that's bouncing around the room is just going to take the attack off the fast playing that's so essential to certain styles. So at the recording stage, it matters. At the playback stage, not at all. Right. I have got a couple of videos which will be coming up fairly soon. I'll be doing them over the next couple of weeks or so, talking about stereo processing. And that's going to be both in the sense of two-bus processing, which could be pan mono or true stereo, and stuff for just true stereo, some of the stuff that you can and can't do with that. So I hope this is of some use to you for the moment. Until the next time, this is Andy at thedustbowlaudio.com. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.